Hey everybody, welcome back to another replay cast where I cast one of your games. And today we're gonna take a look at Derp88's game against Jobster. I presume this is ranked. Jobster is a relatively infamous player on ranked. Usually, at least from my experience, does some very wacky stuff. In any case, before we actually go further into it, I forgot to mention a bit of housekeeping. There's gameplay videos coming, don't worry about it. I've just been not really recording any. I've played games, but I've just not, didn't feel like recording any. But there should be some tournament games coming from 2 different tournaments even. And that should be exciting. Probably not before Sunday though, but then it should start to pick up then. So it might be that for a couple of weeks or something, there might not be any deck labs or replay casts of your replays. So I'm in advance kind of making up by doing these a bit more frequently until all those tournament games start coming. Assuming, of course, I am long enough in those tournaments. In any case, like I said, Derp88's game against Jobster, again, I presume it's ranked. Looks like Derp88 is playing USA. We're on Punch Bowl as well. A bit of a mixed bag for US. On the one hand, with all this open field, you can really do a lot of work with the aerial superiority. On the other hand, being a relatively wide map, you can really be bullied by motorized and helicopter heavy playstyles. So it really depends on the enemy deck and the enemy opponent. But knowing Jobster, he might really do exactly that and just play very wide, aggressive helicopter drops, stuff like that. Or maybe not. I don't know. I didn't take a look at this replay at all. So let me just confirm if this is truly USA, not NORAD. NORAD is fine as well, but typically these days you see a lot more US. However, some of the Canadian units got buffed, so most notably the Highlanders 90. So it might be better than before to play NORAD. In any case, so what do we have? FOB, of course, M1A1, Humvees with Rangers, LVTP7 with Marines, I presume. Yeah, if the only other option I think is small and that would have a different icon. Bradley with Manpad, M1A1. A very, very wide opener. I guess it can work. US, you can really do both with US. You can actually, you can either play very aggressively, like very heavy on one front and just try to really bully, punch your way through. Because your ground game as US is very strong as well, right? M113 with Rifleman Spam. The Abrams line is solid. And you can keep your stuff protected from planes with the Patriot, stuff like that. Or what you can do is you just play wide, play defensively, play slow. And build up your air superiority. And then, like during the last 20 minutes, you, let's say, collapse on your opponent, right? Also, hang on a second there. Alright, if I sound a bit more quiet now, that's because Windows or OBS sometimes doesn't properly recognize my mic volume. So I'm sorry if the first 3 minutes have been particularly loud for some reason. I hate that, but now I'm too lazy to re-record and I'm running out of time to get this video out for today. Getting back into it. Like I said, you can really afford to play slowly as long as you don't, let your opponent take forward +3 for like 20 minutes or something like that. Play slowly, build up your air force. Try to bait the enemy planes into like UAA or UASFs, slowly get rid of those. And then again, just keep bullying them with Nighthawks, Ravens, A10s, stuff like that. That said, unit composition, I think, I'm not sure where this is going, if this is supposed to be a defensive unit here. A bit too expensive for that. Bradley Stinger combination is nice, don't get me wrong, but it should be more used as in, hey, I want to get a Bradley, for some reason, and the Stinger is a nice bonus, and then you just unload the Stinger wherever you want it. It should not be bought for the Stinger, and in my eyes, it's not a very good, I mean, on the one, it kind of is like a good all-around purpose defensive unit, but it's like, what, 55 points? And that's a lot for you. If you want to get something here immediately from the start, just buy SCS. I think it's a lot more important to invest into a recon helicopter, which you didn't, H1J Cobra. Recon helicopters are just immensely useful in general, but immensely in ranked. You don't know what your opponent is playing, or you probably don't know. You might have a guess if you played them beforehand. And, you know, given that Derp88 is playing blue 4 and has a red team color, he knows that Chopster is also playing blue 4, by the way. He might not know, but the game, or you can extract that information from the game if you want to call it that. Instead of buying very expensive like flank defense from the start, invest into a recon helicopter. Check what is your opponent is playing, where are they pushing. If you barely see anything coming this way, a CS is most certainly or most likely gonna be enough. Now, besides that, CS for the base, good choice, but why start with it, right? Instead, invest the 20 points into a unit that you need in the opener, and then buy it after the first 2 or 3 minutes. Up until then, nothing is gonna arrive in your base anyway. Not a huge deal, but always something to keep in mind, right? As important as base defense is, you don't need to immediately start with it. Chaparral, Bradley, Stinger, Hummy. Okay, these might just go for here, so I can't say that just yet. But it looks to me either he's going very wide or just mainly focusing on Bravo and Echo. I hope he's not gonna neglect Charlie too much. A bit slow in the opener, but you know. Here's a small trick. If you have these blobs of units, select this blob, fast move this direction. Select this blob, fast move this direction. Select this blob, fast move this direction. Shouldn't take you too long. And then once all the blobs are on their way, then you give more dedicated directions. Right, there's a plane spotted. What you should do now, if you have it on a hotkey, check with the unit model viewer, which I can't see in the replay, what it is. And, you know, probably hard to tell immediately what it is. It's just very useful to see, to identify if you're, you know, play the game long enough, or you're just a, you know, military nerd or whatever. You might just recognize the plane frame or whatnot. Some are very obvious, some are a bit harder to distinguish, you know, what exactly it is. But in this case, this is a Mirage. Pretty sure this is napalm by the looks of the bomb, but stuff like, you know, discerning what kind of bombs it carries, virtually impossible to read to. But okay, you immediately see it's a Mirage, or you can see it's a Mirage. Could be South Africa. You see bombs dropping, alright, that's napalm, but you know. In this case, this is kind of obvious. So immediately see napalm being dropped on here, which should signal to you, okay, there's a good chance there's a push coming for Echo. But on the other hand, it could also just be a diversion, right? And that's why you want the recon helicopter to make sure. Other than that, you still have no information whatsoever. The information that you have is he's either playing France, Eurocorps, or Blue Mixed, you know? That also narrows it down already, so it means, hey, maybe expect some AMX sense or something along those lines. Alright, now, this is also interesting. You only have poor optics, so you wouldn't really spot stealthy stuff, but you don't spot any transports yet. Let's check. Oh, that's just too fast. They're already blocked by the buildings, never mind. But you barely spot anything, or nothing at all, so it's either very light or just very, very fast. And there's the 80 gems and the tank gun coming. This way it should unload, but clearly Derp is busy on this end. And I can't blame them, right? The M1A1 has been moved. Now it's being unloaded. Marines 90, they're not really they're fine, but you know, they're not really needed in US. But this is not a deck critique, right? Alright, so as I expected, this did go into this direction. The Chaparral here, I think, is overkill. Because what is your Chaparral protecting? Just the M3A1. The M3A1 for one has stealth and optics, so it's tougher to kill than a tank. And it's only 60 points. Why buy a Chaparral just for this? Better to buy like a Chaparral here, can cover this, as well as sort of this area, at least from helicopters. And instead of this, just buy like a pivots, you know, can cover stuff good enough. Or even better, that with Chaparral you buy a Hawk Pip 3 here. Protects you both against planes and against helicopters. And, you know, hindsight is 2020, of course, could have stunned that Mirage before it dropped. But that, of course, also requires you to have it in a deck. And given that you have the Chaparral and the Pivot, you probably don't run it, so, you know, it's fine. In any case, you did buy a mortar. What you should do immediately now is smoke these off so they can retreat. You're not gonna survive, most likely. Actually, they might be able to get it in there, but they're panicked, they're damaged, and you don't know what is in the town. So try to retreat those Marines instead of having them assault further, because the M1A1 isn't supporting them, and you just spotted the VAP, so you can be sure there's something in the town. And look, they're already down to 20 HP, 17 HP. Mortar is not firing, but you know, he's a private. They are a private, right? So you can't expect that from them. So this is not something that I would worry about too much just yet, you know, trying to smoke here and there. I think most important stuff here is less the individual micro, but more the overall plan and what units to buy, when to buy them, and where to buy them. But stuff like this, I'm also just mentioning for other people as well, right? The M1A1 here, I can see they've been really indecisive. Didn't spot much here, spotted the napalm there, so they wanted to move it over on that end. Wanted to push up further with the infantry, and then suddenly realized, oh shit, I actually do need the M1A1 here. In general, in case you don't know that, unless you really go heavy into the sound, but even then, you should always leave something in here. I guess the only option is if you want to go for this sound, but with the US you shouldn't really do this in the opener. Leave those Razzmann in the town here. And if you don't want to go for this sound with the Marines, first of all, if you want to do that, you should drive that way. Don't cross around this road, because then you're just going to get shot. If you probably shouldn't do that without like massive fire support or something. But what you can do, or maybe even should do, is drive these LVTPs here, unload, and then move up this way. Then you're somewhat safe from this, and you can smoke these gaps off so you can walk into those buildings. M1A1 in general, it's an alright tank. Just obviously not in a position to support, because it's been like moved back and forth, back and forth. The first one to support here, now there. There's obviously, I think Derb knows that, you know, it's just unfortunate. Let's check what's happening here. You're getting shot by autocannons. You still have the mortar, and you know there's 80 gems in here. You should try to smoke these off for sure. That's, and also Marine side. That smoking off 80 gems is the easiest thing to use smoke for. You know, everyone talks about, oh, smoke your heavies, smoke your shanks, and yes, it is very powerful, and yes, at high level play it is somewhat required, especially for certain decks. But it's not required to win like against decent players at all. Some people haven't even, you know, Putin has been playing US without mortars for a long, long time and very, very successful, right? So as good as smoke is for tanks and such, if you see an ATGM coming out of a town, you should get a neuron activation. I need to smoke this. That is, of course, unless you really want to push it with infantry, but at the moment you can't really afford to do that. They're all panicked, slow, and you don't have the fire support to deal with stuff like Legion. But to keep your M1A1 here safe and, you know, deal with vehicles there, you should smoke this off. Peace run coming in, and it's a side shot. That's unfortunate. You know, as soon as your stuff got caught up here, you should have retreated immediately. They're panicked and out in the open, and you don't have the support in terms of vehicles, fire support, tanks, even AA to a certain extent to really, you know, to a proper assault. Okay, I once again had to interrupt the recording, so I don't know where I left off. But yeah, we just lost the M1A1 in mid again. You know, too aggressive there. Now, oh no, please don't get side shot. Okay. Please tell me you retreat. Oh, and you got side shot. See? You wanna smoke this off so you can focus on what's here. But now what is really important to keep in mind is play it cool. I mean, now it's even harder than now it was already. But you're playing US. You can take it slow, right? The longer the game goes on, the better it is for your deck compared to your opponents. It's an upvoted ideas. Okay, there's the Nighthawk. Usually I would say, okay, this was an incredibly risky buy. It may have paid off. It probably did, given that you killed a lot of stuff. you know, and your Nighthawk got out alive. Buying a Nighthawk this in a situation like this, incredibly risky. Again, it can pay off, but you didn't know the enemy's AA situation. A single roll in 3 would have probably like killed your Nighthawk, right? Or an ASF up or something. Okay, you had a pivot. You would have had good enough air detection to spot an ASF, but that was very risky. Typically, I would say try to avoid buying panic bombers in situations like this. It did work out, but I wouldn't recommend doing it. Okay, there's a plane. It's probably the Mirage again. What you definitely want to do is get like... You just need some riflemen in here. Just make sure you hold this town. Riflemen are not gonna do much against like shock infantry if shock infantry gets into the town, but it's gonna slow them down and it's gonna give you information, right? So you want to get this town. Buying a Bradley here is not what I would do. AMX 10s are just gonna wreck your Bradley. The double M1 Abrams you originally wanted to buy there, better option, but of course you opted for the Nighthawk instead. But even just a single base M1 Abrams, honestly a better decision. This Bradley, make sure you move it down here, otherwise you get sideshot from down there from those. I guess there's only one AMX-10 left, right? So, yeah. But the M1 Abrams is just going to do so much better against infantry. MX-10 luckily is damaged, so yeah, you did manage to finish it off with that. Peace Shrine did get spotted by that AMX-10. M3 Bradley. Oh yeah, and with the Chaparral the Mirage went down. I mean, the Mirage has no ECM, but yeah, Bradley did some nice work here, Chaparral did as well. Yeah, you notice your CV wasn't in the bush. Yeah. Get into this bush, don't advance further. Again, take it slowly, don't panic, you're not under it. The opponent didn't even tick yet. Humvee here, given how much your opponent has invested here in like, you know, early push, early foothold, shock kind of assault, just probe with the Humvee. People who play like this on Punch Bowl very often just leave Delta either completely empty or only leave something here. If you check this out early, you can maybe try to do something a bit aggressive with the Rangers you have there. And you spotted the T20 there. Stars 85, man. Mistake. Alright, Nighthawk comes out again. Again, a bit spicy, but it is so close to the air spawn that by the time the enemy spots this, you're already out evac, so it works. You can't really punish like overextending opponents with that, because their AA, if they have some, is typically a bit further behind. And Eurocorps doesn't have like ultra long range AA like Hawks or Brooks. Right now, you are under. Now the clock is slowly starting to run out, but you know he had no Congo spawn advantage, so you have a bit of time. But don't worry about Echo just yet. Make sure you get back into this town. This is what you really need to hold. This is from your spawn. This is all you need to hold in Bravo. That's all. And what would really be good here is something like a Recon Cobra that I don't know if you have in your deck, but for one, you should have started with it. Secondly, it would be really good fire support for your riflemen if they want to assault in here. And the Blackhawk can scout ahead to make sure there's no... Hey, Panther on rookie. Sorry, not on rookie, on trained. That's from infantry CV. You know your opponent has an infantry CV. Probably golf given the way it flew. But this is just minor things. And riflemen here are spotted, and you saw Hussars 85 there, which means they're most likely in the town. Blackhawk actually gets pretty far. What is this? That's a Vab T20. That's a Fuchs. Not a Vab. A vehicle. But no AA. There's no AA on the field in this area. Something to keep in mind. Nighthawk should be ready again soon. Humvee buy for Charlie. Yeah, probably for the better. I assume the Bradley got sniped by the Fuchs, by the Milan here. The +2 can be really nasty. Yeah, also put something in here. You don't have much here. Move up the Rangers here so you can block this so your opponent doesn't get into this town. Put some riflemen here to block this road. You have amazing meat shields, you have amazing fillers in form of riflemen, right? That's one of the keys, one of the strengths of the US deck. Plugging this here is not really just yet necessary. These smart probably should move up here. There's no point in holding this when you can just move them up there. But it's just, again, minor thing. Brad here is rearmed. Keep that in mind. But once more, a Recon Cobra would be so good. You could oversee this whole field with the Recon Cobra. And again, those rangers can easily move up. Panther, it's probably the same one. And get like at least a CS or something next to your Bradley just in case. VDAA. See. This is what the left squads are just best for. They're so cheap, so fast, and have a kinetic gun. Sneaking them around is best. That's a supply track because you didn't open fire automatically, and you don't. You know that the only reason you would do that is if it's a supply track. Ooh, Cesar. If you can snipe that, that'd be great. But it seems like your opponent noticed it, given that he's fast moving it away, and that is probably a helicopter. The side, yes. It's plane coming in again. Try to aim for this by the looks of it. Right. So yeah, move those rangers up, make sure that nothing like fast moves down here into this direction. Probably still want something here because you couldn't really stop anything driving out there. Harrier, it's a rocket pod, right? Yeah, rocket pod Harrier, snipe the helicopter. Oh no, went for the Mirage at bombed here. That is an interesting avenue. I hope. Oh, there's a. Why did you not start with this? This is so far the biggest question mark in this for me, because it doesn't really like require any micro or strategy or anything advanced strategy, right? You know, losing stuff like here, you know, most of the stuff that's fast is just rookie mistakes, right? But this is something that you should, if you have this in your deck. Fitting it in your deck is one thing, although it shouldn't be too hard to fit this in the US deck, but fitting a Hurricane Helicopter in your deck is one thing. Sometimes it can be difficult, right? But if you have one, start with one. Please, for the love of God. It makes life so much easier. Alright, Ericsson here. Typically you want your Razzmann first and your 103 is a bit behind, but yeah, wait with your Abrams. Best would be to also assault from this angle here. Just get like a 4-stack of Rifleman, it's just 60 points. Makes things easier and overwhelms this. Because this is... You can't really... I wouldn't go for this town before you have this forest. Because then you get an assault from here, there, and these directions, and the town itself, of course. How many lost? There's... Okay, there's AA. This is a Crotown. If you could snipe this with your Abrams, that would be perfect. And there's Nighthawk. Of course, you don't really have a proper target for... Oh, you split it? Very nicely done, if that was on purpose. Looked like it was... The second one didn't look like it get anything, but... Yeah, and the town, as is fairly typical for Moto, not really that... Not that much in there. Probably move maybe even something out of there. Probably, maybe, yeah. Something out of there. Maybe one of those, the Leech's water that was in there maybe moved out. But that's very typical for Moto pushes like that. There's a piece run again. And when Abrams said, unfortunate, but yeah. Harrier trying to go for it, but obviously on his S-Rams. It looks like a lot, looks very difficult, but once you do that like with one type of unit, like let's say their ATGM squad or something they have, or their own shock squad, stuff like that, you can very often just abuse that hole they have and then overwhelm them. There's Napalm Mirage again. Should consider getting either an ASF or an anti-plane piece. These rangers could also move a bit further up. Bradley, of course, can't really engage. The autogun isn't particularly good. Spotted the Hussards and something moved in there. Probably Legion 90. But it's good if to focus on one front line for now, right? Because now, Jobster is getting pushed out and maybe feels like pressure to do something here. Now moves the infantry in the open and that can be your... There we go. Your ticket to like get rid of the stuff in here because he's too aggressive, but he still has something in here. And yeah, that's the Milan 2 squad. That's a bit unfortunate, I can see, but in this scenario, again, that's a bit more advanced. Engage with the rifleman first. Make sure those Legionali are firing the RMG, and then move in with the Abrams, because then they can't use the Erics unless it's specifically microed. Bradley, of course, spotted because the Hussards are there, but Milan 2 do what Milan 2 best, and that is miss. That's what rocketbots are. Ideal for peace run come in again. Not sure what. There's a Patriot, very nice. Oh, and it missed. It's what you get for not upwetting it, but on the other hand, I wouldn't say upwetting is always the right decision. Just because if you lose one Patriot and it's upwetted, then it's, yeah, you want an only Patriot, obviously. But you dealt with the infantry here, and there's just a Milan in here. So you could try to move up with those Rangers. But I can also just understand if you don't want to risk it, don't want to overextend here. Oh, that's a double SSR, that hurts. Definitely want to keep your Patriot on the move. And get this, you got this sound, which is very good, although you should make sure that there's really nothing left there. You still have an Abrams. Oh, no. Don't buy the Humvee here. Look how light you are in Charlie. Look how much time is left. Look how little the lead of your opponent is. You don't want to buy a city for a 1-point zone just yet. You don't even have full control over Echo, and you don't have any foothold in Bravo. I can understand that you want to make up for the. Did you just say trend there? I didn't even notice the pop. It's a very small lead, and I get that you wanna, catch up, but you want your ground first. You don't want to invest 100 points into a non-combat unit when you're in a position like this. Yep, good choice. Snap the supply track. Get rid of the Jäger. And now what you can try, and yeah, scout ahead with the LAV. See if this town is empty. See what's in there. Maybe you can turn this around and assault their 1-pointer. Mark for SSR. There. See that's why this is just very, very light. There's nothing that really stops an AMX center just fast move up there, or direct move up there even, right? Move those Rangers up. Get at least a CS in here and plug this hole. Get a Recons there. It's not expensive, or just some basic riflemen. You get a Cobra now at least. Mirage comes in again. Move up with it. Move up with the scout. Move up with the M113. Scout ahead. Very often, once you push your opponent out of situations like this, they're so weak in their own zone behind that. Oh, you flew around with the Nighthawk, and you got one. Looks like you only got one. Maybe they've not been on the same situation. Still very nice. Again, so the Nighthawk is very, very good for because of its stealth. HC Abrams, Little Bird, okay. Before you buy the HC Abrams, make sure your CV here is safe. Again, such a huge hole here. And the Cobra, hovering low. It's not gonna spot check shade. That's something you have to keep in mind. If your Cobra or helicopter is not above a building or a forest, it will automatically go down into low altitude after a time, unless you give it a change altitude command. Peace run again. LAV scout. But I see you buy an HC Abrams here. You want to do a proper push here into Foxtrot, obviously. But why not just... Okay, you lost your LAV scout here. On their side coming. What should you kill? Probably looks or the VDAA, honestly. VDAA maybe to make it... Okay, that's not side. VDAA would allow your Cobra to do a lot of work. Bravo has been kept, but once again, move up those ranges. Move up the Chaparral here. What is it gonna protect down here, right? Protect your CV against the Panther he has up there that you spotted earlier. Web coming in. Move those a bit up further so we get better line of sight. Cobra got killed by the VDA, or maybe even Crutal here. And yeah, look how deep he is. You have barely any information. You spot AMX 10s here after you move those up finally. So, what's gonna stop them? At the moment, not much. You have an M1A1. Ooh, Nighthawk again. Oh, and there's... Yep, goodbye Nighthawk. You can only get away with this so many times. You got a lot of value out of it. But after a while, your opponent's just gonna catch on to it. Lost the thing to the ASF. Okay, yeah, now you need your HC. Now this is what is really difficult for new players and US in general. Fighting on multiple fronts. That's hard to do, and it's just not what US is generally very good at. You often have to sacrifice one front and just hope your opponent is weak there, or you can keep your opponent busy on the other side of the map. But this isn't a whole lot of stuff, and HC Abrams, decent tank. But you have to keep in mind, right? You noticed, alright, you're playing against Eurocorps, but you hopefully also notice you're playing against Eurocorps Motorized. What does this mean? The heaviest tank is a Leopard 1A5. Now the HC Abrams, of course, 20 armor, a lot of armor, you know, a single piece run is not gonna kill it, whereas a single piece run is gonna kill an M1A1. But you're typically just better off just spamming the base M1 Abrams in these situations. You still haven't gone up against any tank other than AMX-10s. Leopard base M1s are gonna do just fine against that. For the same price, you can get 2 and have some points left over, and they're gonna deal with AMX-10s. But this is a single target, one side shot, or once down to 2 HP and it's out of commission, at least for a while, if not forever, if it got killed. So be wary of investing into units like this when you're playing against a deck that doesn't really have any proper targets for stuff like this. M1, again, same situation here, M1, A1. What is the M1, A1 gonna achieve in this situation? You're up against light stuff and infantry. Legion 90 is gonna two-shot this just as quickly as it's gonna two-shot the base M1 Abrams. And they have the same optics. The same DPS against infantry. What did you just kill there? The Vab. There's a peace run. Of course, if it's front, you're not lost even line of sight. Very nice. Got hit once. That's the issue with the Patriot, of course, right? It's not gonna, not always, or relatively rarely gonna finish off targets on its own. Longbow, again, feels like a panic buy. What is it gonna kill? Like, yes, it's probably gonna wreck all the vehicles here and spot them, but one wrong step or one plane diving it and it's dead. There's no heavy tanks for you to kill. Of course, it can snipe all the light vehicles, but it might just work out, but it's just very, very risky. And you don't know what's in here. If there's a crowd here, your longbow is dead suddenly. Plane. Rush again. Stinger hits again. Very aggressive longbow once more. Don't do this. Your longbow should never be first in line unless you 99% you're 99% sure there's no AA that could kill it. And even then, it's probably not the right decision because the plane might just come in and dive it. So it should virtually never be first in line unless you know what the situation with the AA is. It's just so risky. You spotted the Crotal here, so hopefully you're aware of that. Rangers got sniped by the other Cesar. Okay, just playing this. Move up with this stuff here as well, don't forget this. And there we go, there's a Crotal. And your longbow. Wow. Is dead. Did you trade? You traded, but not worth it. There's very few situations where you should buy a longbow against a model deck. And now what you have here is the HC sitting here doing nothing in the moment. But I guess I can see, but that you're waiting. But what you can also do, get a ranger squad. Get a ranger squad into this town. You can spot into those bushes and make use of the Abrams. Or you put the Abrams a bit further up so you can spot down there. Move up those Marines building to building. They're gonna get shot here once or twice. Move in this building, but they're gonna spot for your HC Abrams as well by doing that. Panther, another longbow. You spotted the Crotal here, you don't really know what's in there, right? Okay, there we go. Oh, that's unlucky. Pharaoh reset. And now there's a Mistral, right? Not the best smoke, maybe it's just been in... Okay, I guess you want to do defensive smoke for your Abrams, I can understand that. But if you want to move those now you want to smoke this way so you can move up without getting shot at. B, I know you want to kill it at AMX-10, but be careful, there's Mistrals in here. You spotted a Crotal in this area, by now it could easily be in this bush here and then snipe your longbow if you're in this situation. There's a Mirage. I can't believe this Mirage is still alive, and I'm not blaming derp here, right? It's just been very, very lucky. Come on. Finally. Oh, this is... You should not have done it. There's a Mistral here, buddy. Now the napalm is gonna work against Dropser. His own napalm against him. But that was way too risky. See, it's even aiming and shooting. Man, you got really lucky. Again, longbow against motor tank. It's just a very rare... When should you buy this? Well, again, if there's like a button of vehicles and you know there's no AA. Okay, there's now a convoy of 4 vehicles, 4 VAB T20s probably. Or maybe 4 Foxes? Oh, 4 Foxes, those are probably Jäger. Now it's time to get a Cobra. Then, oh my god. See, that is... I mean, you lost your Rangers here, yes. But... Oh my. Now this is where longbow might be good, because it has good range, so that Crotal might have difficulties at times, depending on where it is. Maybe now it was actually good to leave those small behind. Peace run coming in, and ASF. Oh, unlucky Patriot. But at least he didn't die with longbow. Get some supply for... Okay, down to 1 HP. At least you're not gonna see it for a while. Chaparral doing good work, one-shotting those Panthers. KWS getting stunned by the pivot, so it can't dive it, but... Still lost it to the Crotal. Again, what did the longbow do here? Nothing. Virtually nothing. Killed a couple of... Oh, be careful here. Killed a few squads, but not much. Chaparral, you have to move up. You have to move up. Now suddenly there's a Legion here. Again, this is very, very tough for an inexperienced player or you know, newer player. Because so much stuff going on at once, right? And now your base is under threat. So you don't think about, oh, the Chaparral, I need to move it up. Oh, the Abrams on the left, what happened to it? Oh, that's unfortunate. I could see what you were doing there, but the buildings are just too far apart that you can't immediately split. But luckily they were so bunched up together that they both got stunned at the same time. Marines here should definitely try to move into the building there next, but again, pro busy with this right now. Wow, keeping them in place, stunning them, allow the smart to move into this building and then finish them both up. Very nice, very nice. And now the M1 Abramses are gonna shine. Base Milan is not gonna do much against them. AMX-10, or AMX-30 even, not gonna do much against them, right? That's where they shine. And they're against infantry just as good as your HC Abrams. Which died and didn't even see how. Sorry. M1A, again, M1A1, not a good, it has only 2 armor more than the M1 Abrams for 50 points more. And the gun upgrade is mostly irrelevant. If you have it in your deck, which doesn't seem to be the case, an M1 IP Abrams would essentially be what, you know, typically is a heavy tank in matchups. Bench Bear, wow. KWS I think. Or Peace Run if the Peace Run upgraded. KWS. That's very risky, but he wasn't really microing properly, so he got punished for it. That's why you don't want to circle around your plane so close to the enemy spawn. It's this supply truck, you know, shooting automatically, and captured it. But now again, you're probably just pushed here, right? You capture this logistic truck, so you know this is empty. You could, it's a bit risky, but you know, a bit ballsy. But what you could try is now push up into this bush here, and sort of scout ahead with this. Unfortunately, you currently have like no 5-pointers left. He put a Milan here. It's actually hilarious. Oh, you're gonna get sidetracked. This is Wow, this is disgusting. And you're gonna get reassured by like VAP T20s now, it makes sense. Or you're just gonna get overwhelmed. Yeah, with the Milan 2 because run out of ammo. Of course, in this situation, M1A1 is gonna be quite tough for the MX10s. They don't have the penetration to hit it at kill you at max range. Oh, sorry, damage you at max range. It's helicopter, probably a Panther, Chaparral. That's no line of sight. Fox is getting captured. Again, if those Marines were like in these buildings here, they could at least partially spot some reinforcements, most likely. Yeah, not okay. This, wow. Okay, I mean, I can understand it, but you should. If you're in a situation like this, don't buy a CE for this. You're not gonna be able to hold it, and even then, your opponent is still ahead in points. And now there's a desperation coming in, but I think Rollins had killed you there. Tiger. Yeah. I mean, it was a very rough start for you. You didn't know what was coming. And yeah, that's why moto decks work so well against inexperienced players, because you get overwhelmed so quickly, right? So much stuff happening on multiple front lines. If you're then playing US, which as good as it is, and it's not really that difficult to play necessarily if you once you get to a certain level, dealing with situations like this, while already difficult in the first place, US has even bigger issues with that than many other decks, right? Let me just get close to the end and then I'm gonna do like a last wrap up. It's obviously lost by now. I mean, look, I mean, really, all the stuff you lose like in these last minutes is basically irrelevant. Once there's a point like this, you accept the defeat already. So I'm not gonna evaluate what's happening here now. And all right, so I think what you, outside of the opener, but of course, you know, you're probably busy here and then you lost everything, yeah. Not really being aggressive in Bravo, good choice. You don't want to play into your opponent's stack by fighting on multiple front lines at once with a deck that doesn't really like it, right? Probably should have at some point tried to get into these buildings with some riflemen. Right after you lost all your shit here, you had an opportunity to immediately buy some stuff and just fill the town. But that's no biggie, because getting back into this later on, not that difficult. In general, I think your idea, or Derb's idea, to just play defensively and focus on this area, good. But of course, Chopser didn't want that. Pushed here, pushed there. While this didn't fully work out, it still forced you to invest into here, right? Probably more than your opponent did. So to keep this viable, to not suddenly get overwhelmed so quickly, you need scouts. Of course, your rangers here got sniped, but you still had opportunities to put them into these buildings. Still had opportunities to get like a Cobra up here, Scout up here. Maybe try and see if you can get them into these bushes if your opponent doesn't have proper line of sight. In hindsight, of course, even look, even if your rangers keep getting sniped here, right? You still need them here. You still need something here. You saw how quickly this stuff came in, and this is why holding the sun is so important. You kind of dealt with this, but you had no indication of what was coming. But it was also partially that because you allowed your opponent by doing this, because you didn't keep pressure up. Now, playing defensively as US doesn't mean just sit there and do nothing. You still want to keep pressure up, but you don't want to like put all your resources into desperately trying to get it into a zone as much as possible. You still want to keep your opponent busy. You always want to, because you always want to be the one directing the engagements, directing what's happening. So you were just too slow in pushing Foxtrot. Pushing that, once you got the town, you should have immediately tried to hop into the buildings next there. Those are you had just Razzmann here, right? Those were Marines, but I think also 2 damaged Razzmann squads. They're cheap, they're expendable. That's what they're meant to do. They're meant to die. Push them up, get them into the outer, at the very least, get them into the outer buildings so you get line of sight. I think the key issue in this game was not necessarily your bad plan. Your plan was not too bad. Yes, you had micro issues, but that's to expect it from a private, and it's not meant as an insult, right? If you're new and inexperienced, you do make bad decisions. You do, not micro as well. But I think the key issue, and that's just one of the most important basics in Wargame, is information. You had very little info on what your opponent was going to do next. The few times you spotted some aim extents here that you then bombed with Nighthawk, you lost it. Okay, that's fine. But you had your Marines in here, they were at the edge, not spotting the roads that reinforce. Your Recon here died, and you, I think, only once reinforced it. Your Rangers here were sitting there when they could be here. You had no Recon here other than Rangers. You had nothing here, nothing there. You had no Recon Helo in the opener. And I think after the Bradley died here, you had no Recon here either. You had no idea what was in those bushes, what is being reinforced. And that just meant that you were always in the dark. Your opponent caught you off guard so often, so quickly, especially in mid, although granted the one in mid is just hard to really see coming. So that you were always on the back foot, you always reacted to what your opponent was doing, while he was ahead in conquest points and ticking. That's just a recipe for disaster. Of course, in all honesty, it is to expect that the private loses to a major, right? But for your next games, the number one thing that you should keep in mind is recon and information. Where are my units positioned? Could they be in a better position without suddenly moving them over the whole map, right? Not the specific situations, but take this for example, right? You have your infantry in a town. Your rifle infantry, or even your recon infantry would be even better. They're in the center. What are they going to do in the center? Nothing, right? Move them to the edge so you have vision. Your stuff is in a bush. Your recon is in a bush here. Why is it not in the center? Why is it not further up, right? If it's here and gets shot at, okay, sure, move it back. But if it's here, it doesn't get shot at, move it up a bit further. Still doesn't get shot at, move it up further. Still doesn't get shot at, alright. Take a 5-pointer, move it up here, see what's in the town. Oh, it's just a single, Milan squad or something. You can deal with that. Just move up to Razzmann squad or something like that, right? Inch by inch, moving up until you have key positions of the map, key positions where you have vision over large areas, over reinforcement zones, over roads that your opponent will take to assault your zones. You had no clue what was coming here or that there was stuff coming at all. I think that is the number one takeaway. I said a lot of stuff that you should do, shouldn't do, blah, blah, blah. But of course, trying to implement all of that is just too much. For now, focus on recon, focus on information. Yeah, I think that's the main part here. The overall plan was fine. Of course, again, like I said, some bad decision making. These M1A1s were bad buys. The HC wasn't really good. You didn't need more than M1 Abrams. The longbow wasn't a good decision, but again, stuff like that can come later. Stuff like that you really learn on your own, I think. But recon positioning is, being aware of where is your stuff in the town, in the bush, etc. Where do you have line of sight? I think that is something that you can implement more quickly. But in general, your general idea of how you try to approach this game, how you try to push, was fine, right? So, yeah. I think this cast was a bit all over the place, but that's because I had to leave twice in the middle of the recording. So, sorry for that. I still hope that I could help you. And, I mean, the KD at the end wasn't even that bad, right? But, yeah. Hope I could help you. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. And I'll hopefully see you next time. Later.